Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Beverly's Times Past. My name is Ed Josephs, and tonight our topic of discussion, Drum and Bugle Corps organizations. Now, if you've lived in Beverly since the late 40s up and through the middle 70s, I'm sure that you well recall the Beverly Cardinal, St. Mary Cardinal and Crusader organization, a wonderful group that it was. Our special guest this evening is Mr. Nuccio, whose family dates back well over 50 years, I dare say, in Drum and Bugle Corps organizations. Peter, welcome to Times Past.
Thank you very much. 50 years, yes.
50 years and more, yeah.
Yes.
And the reason I say that, of course, is that before the Cardinals came on the scene, you and your dad were closely involved with the Sons of Italy Drum and Bugle Corps.
Right. Back in 39 and 40, 41, my brothers, the four of us, and my father, were in the Beverly Boys Bugle and Drum Corps. It was an offshoot. It came about because of, believe it or not, my father's brother in Lynn. He had a drum corps, so my father had to start one. So in order to get even with his brother, we had the Beverly Boys Bugle and Drum Corps. And it took in under the auspices of the Sons of Italy. And it encompassed about 40 boys from the Italian neighborhood down in Ward 3. It took in a lot of boys. The picture...
You've got a nice picture there,
The picture
Peter.
that I have gives you an idea. My father and I were standing side by side. I don't know whether that was by design. And on the opposite corner, believe it or not, is Mayor James Vitale. So, I mean, it like I say, it encompassed all of us guys in Ward 3. The picture itself was taken in front of the old spring factory. How far back do you go on that? Yeah. But it's a case of, this is where we originally started with Drum Corps.
We have an earlier picture, I think, with the first uniforms that were put on the screen
original
right now.
uniforms.
And these uniforms came along shortly thereafter.
Yeah, these are uniforms.
I see.
The other one was just a sweater and a pair of pants. But it got by.
Yeah.
And it served the purpose.
Now, when do we date the beginning of the Sons of Italy Corps?
Back 1939.
Okay. So now, let's come up to 1947 and 48.
Well, no, actually it goes back, 1947, the late 47.
Okay.
We started with, believe it or not, these same uniforms, and the Cardinals had gray pants, and the black pants, gray pants, and the blue shirts, and then they went to gray shirts, and then the Crusaders were formed to take over all the extra uniforms and shirts and pants that were made up. And the Crusaders came in along in 1551.
I see.
So the two organizations work together.
Okay, so we're talking 1947-8, the beginning of the Cardinal Group.
Right.
Okay.
And then 50-51, the
Now,
Crusaders.
your brother Vin and a gentleman by the name of Melvin DeVoe had a hand in
Yeah.
starting this group going.
My brother Vinny was very astute up at St. Mary's. He assisted at 4 or 5 masses with the pastor, Monsignor, Father Deegan. And Father Deegan said, yeah, bring the drum corps along if you want. So what they did was Vinny went down to the Sons of Italy, where he was also a member, and he got their uniforms and their equipment, and then brought them up, and the pastor said, well, okay, it's going to be sponsored by the Holy Name Society. Millie was the president of the Holy Name Society. So then we got together, and my father went along parallel and was the first manager up there too.
Mel tells a story that when he walked into Father Deegan's office, he didn't quite know what was going to be the reaction, but it turned out that the good father had some experience in Marblehead, I believe.
I just talked with my brother Vinny, and Vinny said that the original horns that came to us at the Sons of Italy were from a group that the Monsignor had. So the equipment came over, and it just came back to him again. So what goes around comes around.
Absolutely. Now, this Cardinal Group and Crusader Group lasted well into the 1970s, so we're talking a large span of years here that you were
at least
functioning.
35, 40.
Wow. That's great.
They belonged to an association, Eastern Mass Drum Corps Association, that was formed back in the same time, 49, 50 era, and that is still going on.
Okay.
The association is,
Right.
even though that there's not as many drum corps involved.
Okay, we have to bring in the name of the White Crusaders and the Legion contingent. Now, this was an earlier group of Corps people.
Older men.
Older men.
Older men.
Okay.
A fellow by the name of Fred Churchley was the drum major. Fred Churchley was our first drill master. Well, he had experience in marching. And a fellow by the name of Arthur Poole, who was a music man at the time, did all our music arranging and all of our music teaching. And together between both of them, they brought the Corps up to the expectations of all of us, being one of the top-notch corps in the area.
So you were really fortunate. You had some professional expertise to start right off the very
That's
beginning.
right. And it worked out exactly that way, by having people who were very knowledgeable in the area. It helped the whole thing just gel very much quicker.
Mm-hmm. Great. We brought along a lot of pictures this evening, Peter, and let's go to the first clip of them, shall we? And we'll talk
good.
about some of these pictures here. You have your copies there, and the first one coming up here is one of the earlier photographs that we were able to find of the old uniforms that the group wore.
Yeah, this is basically the Crusaders had a blue shirt and a gray pair of pants. Like I said, it's very, very easy to take care of, and that's what we were going at.
Okay.
Very easy. The next picture, pictured on Cabot Street, is the YMCA there. They were doing a parade, I believe, for probably one of the May processions or a Memorial Day parade, and the services were at St. Mary's.
Yeah,
And this is the Cardinal
We can see some uniform men,
uniforms, right.
firemen or policemen perhaps
Yeah,
in the background.
I think that's
there.
why I think it was probably a memorial service.
Okay.
The next
Beautiful picture here coming up.
Yes. Now, if people will really look, they'll see the Monsignor, or Father Deegan, and the first girls color guard. This goes way, way back, like 49.
I have some names here we could throw out left to right. I have, and you can check me on these.
Yeah.
Nancy Patch,
Yeah.
Mary Rich,
Very rich, yeah.
Barbara Seipel,
Yep.
Peggy Doyle is
Peggy
in there.
Doyle's the color guard captain out front with the Monsignor.
Okay.
Peggy Kelly is directly behind her.
Kelly, and Reverend Deegan. Kathy, let's see if I can read this name here. Can't read the last
Kathy
name.
Haynes.
Kathy Haynes.
Yeah.
Yep. And Joanne Donahue.
Yep.
And Frida Beckworth.
Beckworth.
Right. All of this
Yeah.
photograph here. And the next one we have.
Now, the next one is upper, the old Beverly High School, now Briscoe. This was later on when they got the uniforms. Now, the uniforms that they're wearing here are basically a military type uniform. The fellow on the right-hand side is Bobby Pelletier. He was the drum major then, on the right-hand corner.
Okay.
The next picture is almost self-explanatory, especially if anybody is really looking. It's now, we used to call him Father Das. It's Bishop John Darcy now. And the older gentleman on the behind is me. And believe it or not, the young fella inspecting the thing is my son Peter. That's how young they took him in the days.
Okay.
This was the picture of the Crusaders up at St. John's Prep, I think, or at La Salette. La Salette, when we had a contest and then a program afterwards, and we took a picture of all the kids. And as they were doing their thing, then we lined them all up and said, okay, let's take a picture here, because we don't know whether we'll get back or not.
Very good. Peter, let's talk about some names, shall we, that associated with the organization. We've mentioned your brother Vin and Mel DeVoe, of course, as the instigators, founders, etc.
Yeah.
Father Deegan, of course, was the first pastor that initially received... Got it started. How about Father McNamara?
Father Mac was the spiritual director for the Cardinals when the Monsignor, of course, being the pastor, was busy. So he assigned Father Mac, and Mac traveled with the kids. Then, of course, the bishop, I can't say Father Darcy anymore, Bishop Darcy had charge of the little corps. Father Mac had the Cardinals, and Darcy had the smaller corps.
No, Father Darcy, or Bishop Darcy now, is out in Fort Wayne?
He's the Bishop of Fort Wayne, South Bend. But as anybody from the Cardinals can tell you, he's still as tied to Beverly as any priest will ever have here. He takes an ad in our program book every year. Always wants to know what you're doing, when you're doing it, and if he's at times come back on vacation and then come over to the contest. Wow. So you never know when he's going to show up.
Yeah. Fine gentleman, fine man.
Oh yeah, wonderful.
Yeah. Father Manning.
Father Joe Manning, believe it or not, I guess he used my house as a second home. He could be found when he was here, besides being drum corps, could always be found down on Ward 3 playground, playing basketball with the kids. And he was our second spiritual director when Father Darcy moved up to the Cardinals.
I see. And next we come up to former drum major, Father Barrett.
Father Bob Barrett. One thing about Father Bob Barrett, he was not only spiritually, but a very fine musician. When we first started the corps, Arthur Poole said, I got to find a drum major. And he found out that Bobby Barrett played a piano. And he said, I got the man. So Father Barrett was the first drum major because of his knowledge of music and the way he directed things.
We see a picture of him here on the screen, and he's really quite majestic in front of that group.
Because you see, when you get a fellow like him who is impeccable, always dressed just so, and he well-mannered, and as somebody told me one time, you know, here's a perfect man to respect and to be looked up to, and he was.
Yeah. Where is he stationed now?
Right now he works out of the Archdiocese of Boston. He fills in everywhere.
I see.
For the Cardinal. He's a floater.
Member of the alumni for sure.
Oh yes, he sure is. Like I say, once in a while you'll find him, he'll come down to one of our alumni reunions. So.
Yeah. I'm going to throw out a cluster of charter members to you. We have the names of John Weir, and Dan Shea, and Jerry Marcella.
Well, you see, if you live in Beverly, you're in trouble. You don't know Jerry Marcella. He's down at City Hall. I mean, what do you want from me? Danny Shea's, I think, a principal down in the Cape, one of the schools down there. And as far as Jackie Weir is also a teacher up in, I don't know whether it's Rowley or up in that area.
In the area,
yeah.
in the vicinity.
Of course, Jack is one of those Marine Corps buddies, and he was one of my drill instructors for the Crusaders.
I see.
We've had some beautiful, we had a couple of beautiful pictures, I didn't bring them, of Jack in his stern military type talking over the youngsters. And it worked out real well.
Give you three more names: Paul Hennessy, Paul McNutt, and Ray Lord.
Yeah, you see those three. Now here's three gentlemen, and you've got to say gentlemen, because no matter where you go or when you go anywhere, I've bumped into walking down Cabot Street with my wife, and a guy by the name of Ray Lord will come right up behind my wife and say, "Hi, Mrs. Nuccio." These are Paul McNutt. Of course, if you go to the Beverly Post Office, you better know, because Paul's there.
There he is. Yeah.
And Hennessy, he's in one law firm, I guess.
Well, on the first committees, some of the people on the first committees, we have the names of Ed Trader, Reginald Loisel, and Archie McNeil. And we have to say that the son of Mr. Trader is standing right out there in front of us now.
Well, yeah,
this
see, I got to
camera.
watch what I say about Eddie, because his son will tell him.
Paul
His son will
Trader.
tell him about me. No, in fact, Eddie keeps very well in touch. When we have our tournament of drums, Eddie's always there volunteering. Reggie, in fact, this year, Reggie